I've got a little treat for you now, though. Have a look at this. Dorset Museum has loaned us a cuckoo's egg. So this is an old egg from an ancient collection that's being kept there for scientific purposes these days. And this is symbolic of an evolutionary arms race between a parasite, the cuckoo, and its host, in our case, the meadow pipit. Now, clearly, the cuckoo wants its egg to stay in the meadow pipit's nest, and the host, the pipits, want to be able to spot it and turf it out. So one of the ways that the cuckoo achieves this is by having an egg like this, which is a very good mimic of the host species' eggs.
So basically, the cuckoo has to be an excellent mimic, and you'll see that in this nest. So this is a nest of a reed warbler, and those look exactly the same, don't they? But the bigger one is the cuckoo's nest, but it's similar enough to the eggs of the meadow pipit, of the tree, hang on, what is it? It's the reed warbler. It looks similar enough for the reed warbler parent to totally accept it. A little bit of difference, but similar enough.
Yeah. So how do the reed warblers in this case, or the host, when it comes to brood parasites like cuckoos, how do they fight back? How do they do that when the cuckoo is quite a good mimic of their eggs? Well, look, a little diagram here. We're going to attempt to demonstrate this. So the first thing that the host needs to do is to be able to replicate the colour and shape of its own eggs, like this. Because once it can replicate them, if anything comes in that's slightly different, like a slightly larger or mildly differently marked cuckoo egg, then it will be able to spot them. So, you know, what it's doing there is something really simple. It's a bit like me doing my initials, if I do them in a very simple block capital like that. But the problem with that is that you can't therefore identify your eggs as individuals if they're all identical. So what you want to do is be able to have your eggs so they're distinct. So here we've got, you know, the egg of this female, but this is the egg of a different female. And of course that means that if you pop into the wrong nest, you'll obviously recognise that they're not your eggs. But more importantly, it's going to make it difficult for the parasite, the cuckoo, to produce an egg which is exactly the same as yours, because it's got this little distinctive marking. And that, if you like, when it comes to my signature, is more me doing it in my handwriting like that. But even this isn't enough. What the host has to do is increase the complexity of the situation. It has to make it almost impossible for the cuckoo to be able to replicate the markings on that egg, because then it will be very obvious and it will be able to spot it. So what it effectively needs is a signature of its own. So here is my signature, there you go, and that is a squiggle that's going to be very difficult to copy, but it's replicatable and it's distinct, because I can do it time and time again, just like that. And effectively, that is what these hosts are doing. In order for them to be able to spot the cuckoo spot the cuckoo's egg when it's laid into their nest. The question is, of course, does any of this ever work? Do these hosts ever manage to get rid of the cuckoos forever? Well, there is some evidence that there is a species in the UK that's managed to achieve this. It's the spotted flycatcher. Now, we know that cuckoos used to lay their eggs into spotted flycatchers' nests, no doubt about that. But what scientists have found is that spotted flycatchers have a disproportionate ability to turf out eggs which aren't their own. Now, why would they have that capacity if they hadn't been previously parasitised by cuckoos? What's given them that ability to look at those eggs and then turf them out? And we think that this is basically the arms race swinging in favour of the host, in this case the spotted flycatcher, because they are no longer parasitised by cuckoos. Now, there could be other factors, it's just a theory, because we have seen a 92% decline between 1967 and 2020 in spotted flycatchers. So it could be that there are just fewer of them around. It's not worth the cuckoo specialising in parasitising their nests, but it's certainly a very good theory. And one other top fact for you is that Eurasian cuckoos still have brood patches, those in areas of skin on their chest which are engorged with blood, to warm their eggs. but they don't warm their own eggs. So this indicates that they're only recently has this species become a brood parasite.
And I'm going to do a little quick summary on all of that, just to make it a bit simpler. So you're the reed warbler, I'm the cuckoo. So you do your signature. That's easy for me as a cuckoo to copy. It'll get in your nest.
Yeah.
And over time, you make it a little bit more complicated.
Yeah,
but
more
I reckon I can still do that signature.
Yeah.
Then it gets so complicated over time, it's the evolutionary race,
Go on then.
that I am going to really struggle to do that signature.
Yeah,
and so then you chuck me
My
out
checkbook's
of
secure.
you chuck me out of the nest and I get rejected, and then you win the evolutionary arms race. You like that summary? You like that
Very
summary?
good.